Okay, so what I'm going to show you here is the actual expense planner that you would receive if you decide to download the one that I'm talking about in this blog post. So when you first open the download, what you would see is just kind of a blank planner here. And I'm going to go through the different parts of the planner so that you can see what it could do for you and for your business. The reason behind this spreadsheet, this tool, is basically just to track and project your expenses. Something that my own accountant does every year is he asks me to project my revenue and my expenses for the upcoming year. And I used to think this was such a chore, and it was just one more thing that I had to do on my to-do list. But then I created this expense planner as a way to project and to track the expenses in my business. Now, one thing I want to say up front is that the numbers that you're going to see in this demonstration do not reflect the numbers in my own business at all. This is simply for demonstration purposes, so I'm certainly not telling you what expenses you must have or should have in your business, and I'm not showing you the ones that I have in my own per the numbers, but I will explain to you how I use this in my business and hopefully how you could also use this and how it could benefit you in projecting and tracking your expenses, because everybody has expenses. Nobody really wants to talk about them or think about them, but it's a really important thing to know in your business in the day-to-day operations, and it could mean the difference between you increasing your profit margins or losing money. So it's extremely important to know where you're spending your money, why, and if you need to make changes to that down the road. Okay, so again, when you download this planner, if you decide that you want to use something like this in your business, you would open it and see a lot of these tabs at the bottom, and I'm going to go through some of these to show you how it looks. There is one at the very beginning that says Start Here. And one other thing I want to say up front is that I am a Mac user. I use Apple products in my business. However, this spreadsheet would work if you use a PC or a Mac. It doesn't really matter what you use. It is an Excel sheet, so it should work as long as you have Microsoft Office installed. If you need this also in a Google Sheet, you could just ask me and I could send it to you as a Google Sheet if that's easier for you, if you like to work in Google Docs. So you would start here at the Start Here tab, and there's a little message from me here that says, thank you for purchasing the digital expense planner. Here's the link to the private access video to watch the tutorial and learn how to use it. And for this demonstration, I don't have the link here yet, but I will have it if you were to download it. And then also, I'm going to include a 10% discount for the upcoming sales revenue planner, which will be available as of April 26, 2018. So if you purchased this one and you enjoyed using it, you thought it was helpful, you can use the discount code that I'm going to provide to you within this expense planner towards that, if you decide that that's something that you want to use to make projections for your business. And so lastly, of course, if you have any questions as you're using this or you need any additional support, just email me. That's perfectly fine. I'll put my email here for you. The next tab is the instructions tab. This is basically what I'm going to go through in the private access video that comes with this expense planner. It's more of a breakdown of exactly how to set it up for your business, but I'm going to go more in depth on this in that video so that you can really see how to make this work for your business and how to get more out of it. And then next is a demo tab or sheet for the annual overview for your business. This is like looking at the 30,000 foot or bird's eye view of your business, okay? And so you'll see here at the very top, it's got all 4 quarters listed here. So this is really the overall look at your business. These numbers that are inserted in here right now are simply for demonstration purposes, as I mentioned. And they're going to look different for each person's business, whether you're a translator or an interpreter or a small business owner. It doesn't matter what you do, your numbers are going to look different from the next person's. So just keep that in mind as you're watching the demonstration here. And then here on the left, you're going to see a list of expense accounts. These are considered expense accounts, and these are actually ones that I use in my own business. I have a few more that don't really pertain to other people's businesses, but they do pertain to mine. So I've left those off, but what I've done here at the bottom is I've left a place for you to add your own expenses under here where it says other expense. These would be where you would add anything that's particular to your business that might help you keep track of a certain expense that might not be listed here. So to go through a few of these real quick, the reason that these are already made out for you is that these are ones that most people use in their business. And if you find that some of them do not work for your business or you don't need them right now, that's fine. You don't have to fill anything in, but I would suggest just not deleting them for now, because you never know if next year you might need that expense account. That has happened to me in my own business. I use QuickBooks for my accounting, and these are the expense accounts that I use in my business, plus a few more. And some of them I never used for several years, and then all of a sudden they became necessary because of the type of business that I do, or the type of clients that I see, or the type of expenses that I have. So really quickly, just to go through a few of these, you have advertising and promotion. That's pretty obvious what that is. So if you're going to be doing any kind of marketing or advertising to get new clients, or even promoting something new for your clients, or reminding them of things, you might have an expense there. It could be an email list, it could be a new brochure, it could be a lot of different things. So that is going to go into that expense account. If you're somebody who tracks automobile usage and mileage for your business, you could put this here. This number is, I think it's last year's mileage rate in the United States, what the IRS was giving back per mile, but that changes from year to year. So please, make sure that you pay attention to what it is now if you track that. And of course, talk to your tax preparer. I'm not a tax expert by any means. So if that's something that you want to take off on your taxes, you may want to track that. And this is a great place to do that. Everybody has some bank service charges from time to time, so keep track of those. That's a good thing to keep track of. Computer and software, if you ever update your computer, or you need to buy new software, new translation software, or even accounting software, this is where you might put that. If you have continuing education requirements or needs, if you attend conferences or you attend webinars, they cost you money. This is an expense, and you want to include those in your projections, of course, and your tracking. Dues and subscriptions would be things like if you subscribe to a professional journal, or if you are a member of an organization or an association. Those things come with costs, and they are an expense for your business. So those are things, of course, you would want to track annually as well. If you hold insurance, you would want to track that. Meals and entertainment, if you're ever going out to meet a client, or if you're attending a networking event, you have to pay to get in, and there's food involved, something like that, you put that under meals and expenses. Merchant service fees would be, for example, like in my business, when we accept somebody's credit card for payment, there is a merchant service fee applicable to that. So you would want to make sure that you track that so that you can put that down as an expense, a cost of doing business. Office supplies, professional fees. Professional fees, at least in my own accounting, is for things like when I have to pay my accountant, for example, to look at my books, or my tax preparer to prepare my business taxes and so forth. So those would be professional fees. Or if you have a lawyer that you need to draw up contracts for your business, you would be paying them a professional fee as well. So you want to track that. If you rent an office space, or if you want to put down a percentage of even your home office based on your mortgage or your rent, depending on if you rent or own a home, you could put the percentage here, what you would be paying per month if you were paying that out of your business. For example, if you're not paying this out of your business, that's okay. But if you are planning on taking that off on your taxes, or for whatever reason, this is also a great place to track this, okay? And again, this is just a tracker. This is not your accounting software. So you can track these things, and at the end of the year, when you're talking to your tax preparer, you would have this ready to go, and you wouldn't have to go searching for those numbers. So that is a nice way to keep track of this, and also to project this cost if you are taking it out of your business monthly, for example. Then you have repairs and maintenance. Let's say your computer breaks or something like that, and you need to take it in to be repaired. There's repairs and maintenance from time to time. You need to project for that to happen. Happens to everybody, so it's something to be prepared for. Telephone and internet, travel expenses, utilities, if you take those out of your business at all, or if you take off a percentage for your own taxes, that could be something you could track a percentage of as well throughout the year. Taxes and licenses, if you need any licenses to run your business, or tax amounts, you would put that there. And then penalties could be anything along the lines of, let's say you paid your estimated taxes late or something like that, and you got a small penalty, something of that nature. So, and again, there's other expenses here that you could list as well. So these numbers here under the cost column are basically rounded numbers. And I realize that a lot of these things could be more precise, but for projection purposes, we're going to make them round numbers because it's just a lot easier to try to project based on that. And what I always do when I'm projecting my expenses is I aim a little bit higher, because then I've covered myself and I know that even if I don't spend that full amount, I've aimed a little bit higher, so I'm covered in case it does turn out to be on the higher end versus the lower end. And then so take a look here and you'll see Q1, Q2, Q3, and Q4. That pertains to the different quarters of the year. And then below that you'll see that we've got the Q1 overview, which is filled in for you as an example. And once these are filled in, and I will show you how to do that. If you were to purchase this, we can talk specifically about how to do this in your business and project and make plans. You may decide for example, advertising and promotion, that you want in Q1, so the first quarter of the year, to spend, let's see, what would that be, $225 for the quarter on advertising and promotion. And you may break that down to $75 a month because there's 3 months in a quarter. So you would have down here, you make sure that you filled in this 3 here, and this auto-populates, the total of your expenses for the quarter, and then of course here on the right side, the total for the year. But then you would want to make sure that down here in the Q1 overview that it matches up. This quantity needs to match up with this quantity here, right? And so you can see the total here is $225 for advertising promotion for the first quarter, and it is here as well for Q1 at the top for the annual overview. So let's say that you want to spend $75 per month for the first quarter on advertising and promotion. You would just put a 1 here in each month, and it would break it down for you, $75 per month, and the total here is $225. Now you may think that this quantity total on the right side is really not that important, and it may not be at first, but if you're finding that any of your numbers don't match up in your spreadsheet, that's a great place to look and make sure that this quantity number matches up with this one, for example, and so forth. Let's say that you decide you're going to use your car just to go to the post office and the bank and things like that, so you don't use it that much in a given month. You might live really close to both of those places, and you just you just use like 10 miles or something like that. This is going to total all of this up for you, which is really, really nice. And the same thing goes for the other quarters of the year. They're all listed here. Okay, so this is just for demonstration purposes. But the next demo I want to show you is also extremely important. This is the Q1 breakdown. So take first a look here at the Q1 overview right here. You see in January you may have expenses totaling $1,877.50. In February you may have expenses totaling $1,000.95. I'm sorry, $1,095.50, and then in March $2,095.50. And then you're going to see here the total for the entire quarter was $5,068.50. So if you click over to the Demo Q1 tab, you're going to see that total here for the Q1 estimates as $5,069. It rounded up the 50 cents to the next dollar, which is fine. January, February, and March also match up, and those are auto-populated from these numbers right here. Okay, so that's how we get those on the next page. But this Demo Q1 tab or sheet is extremely important, because here is really where you're going to break down exactly what you're spending your money on. So this sheet is particularly great for both tracking and projections. So let's say we know that in the first quarter we said we wanted to spend $225, I believe that it was. Is that right? Yes, here it is, on advertising and promotion, so about $75 a month, right? We're just using it as an example here for the demonstration. So what do we want to spend those $75 a month on? It could be a brochure, it could be, let's see, new business cards or something like that. You know, you can decide how you want to spend your money for your business. And then for here, every month, you would say, okay, well, in January, I want to do my new brochure. It's going to cost me $75 to produce. And again, that's just an example. It may cost you differently than that. That's actually not that expensive. So you may need to project a little higher or a little lower, depending on what you're doing. February, you may decide you're going to do your new business cards. And you could even put in, the price here that it's going to cost you. Like, let's say it turns out to just be $70. So that's good to know. That's good information for tracking purposes later on. And if you go ahead and fill it in as you're spending these things, then you can also see how much money you've spent / saved. So you know that you've projected to use $75 in February, but you didn't spend that last $5, and so you may have that to use in March, or you may have that just to keep in your business as a savings. Every dollar counts, so make sure that you track these things. It's really important. And the same thing would go for the rest of this list. So you have all of the same expense accounts here that are listed on the annual and quarterly spreadsheet here, the very first one, the overview sheet. And here's where you would just fill in, like other expenses. You can change these things to be whatever your other expenses could be that you track or want to project that are important for your business to run and operate. And then you would just go through and do these different, fill these things in. And I try to be pretty detailed. I like to track, so I also put prices or costs with those on mine. If you don't know them right away, you can just put, maybe in parentheses, something like you think your brochure is going to cost you the full $75. So you could put that in parentheses there. And then when you go back and pay for it, you can put what it really cost you, kind of like this one is not in parentheses anymore. You just make it work for you. That is the beauty of these spreadsheets. And then the next tab is the Demo Q1 Monthly tab. This is where you really want to go back and track. So this is not really a projection sheet right here, this spreadsheet. It is more for tracking. So after you've spent the money in January, February, March, this is the Q1 demo, obviously, so it's just got these 3 months here for now. You would go in and say, okay, well, in January I spent, what did we say? We spent $75 on the new brochure. You could go ahead and put that in there, new brochure, and you could just copy and paste, which I didn't do, but let's say you spent the full $75. So it's no longer in parentheses, which is something that I would do just to, differentiate. But let's say you've already spent $75. You really like how they turned out, but you don't need that brochure maybe again for another 6 months or a year, so you could say reduce. You don't need this expense in your business anymore for the brochure, or maybe you want to keep the $75 a month in your business for advertising promotion because you have other plans coming up, then you might say keep. Or let's say you decided that brochure was really not effective, then you could say, I want to remove that as an expense. This was not worth the money that I spent on it. I could do other things in my business that might be better to promote it, and you could remove that. But this is a great way to track, and you're going to want to decide if you want to keep, remove, or reduce these expenses. And you want to look at this regularly. I would say, if not every month, for certain every quarter, because this is how you look at your business from a strategic point of view. And for anybody who has any type of business, whether you work alone or whether you work with other people, if you're not tracking your expenses, you could be spending money that you don't need to be, or you could be spending too much, or you could decide, $75 was too much for that brochure. It shouldn't have cost that much. What can I do to reduce it? And you could, say reduce, and then give yourself some ideas. Find a new designer, or I don't know, find a new printer. And those are ways that you can reduce those expenses if you want to, or just remove them altogether. That's up to you. And then here, I have on the right side here this column that says pay by date. This is important if you are not paying your invoices upon receipt. And sometimes with certain vendors, it could be a designer for your brochures. I keep using that as an example, but it could be, something else that you only pay once a year. For example, your dues and subscriptions. Let's say you pay every January an association fee to, I don't know, X association. Then here, of course, you think that's of good value, so you want to keep that. And let's say it costs you, I don't know, $125 for the year. You could leave these blank, obviously, for February and March, and you would put the pay by date, whatever that is, let's say January 21st, and we'll say 2019 since that's next January. So that's how you could keep track of when these things are due. And why is that important? Well, it's specifically important for things that only come up once a year. And the reason for that is, and this goes for, if you're a member of an association, or if you are in going to conferences and things like that, where you have like a larger expense all at once in a certain time of the year, these are great for tracking purposes because you could then be putting aside a little bit of money throughout the year, knowing that this date is looming, it's coming, and you're going to owe, here for example, the $125 in January. Then you could divide that by 12, and you could be putting aside that money the entire year in order to pay it. So that when that time comes and you go to pay it, you're not putting it on a credit card, you're not getting into debt because of this expense. This is something that you have planned for and you have set aside money for. So that's the really important thing about projecting expenses. You don't want to go into debt in your business, let alone in your personal life. So this is a great way to do that. And then if you purchase the sheet, of course, you'll see all the demos, you'll see the instructions, but then if you just go over to the right a little bit, you're going to see where you can do your own projections and tracking. And so it's all set up for you here under annual, Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4, and this is where I was talking about the planning. Then you have the Q1 monthly. This is really the side for tracking, Q2, Q3, Q4. Okay, and so that is what you would get if you were to click on the link below this and decide to purchase and download it. Of course, you could do this for yourself, but it is something that is already done for you if you like it. If you just want to test it out, that is a great option as well. This is also something that you can use every single month, quarter, and year. It's a one-time download. I'm not going to change this depending on the year because it is something that is evergreen. You're going to use it in your business as long as you're in business. At least I do. And I think that you'll find that you can too. It's very customizable, like I said, so it's something that if you are interested in doing, then you would definitely get a lot out of this, I think, as long as you can keep up with it. It's really not that much to keep up with it. When this part is all done for you, the rest is just filling in numbers. And you're going to find, like I said at the beginning, projections are just projections. The only thing we really know about them is that they are, not correct. Projections will change, and that's why we do the tracking side of things. And so hopefully this empowers you to know where your money is going and where you can make changes to save in your business or invest your money more wisely. That is something that I have really paid attention to as my business has grown, is that where am I spending my money? Where am I placing my dollars? And this is important to know, in order to be more profitable, in order to keep more money in your business and to grow your business. So hopefully you found this helpful. If you're interested in downloading this spreadsheet, please, feel free to click on the link below. And if you have any questions about it, feel free to email me as well.